When you render a scene in Revit, one of the most important things is getting the lighting correct. And how Revit handles this is that all the different light sources, all the different light fixtures have their own light source and cast out a certain number of lumens or a certain direction of light. To take a better look at this, let's find one of those light fixtures inside of this project and examine the way that it casts its light. Underneath the project browser, come down near the bottom of the list, and we want to expand out the category called Families. From here, we're going to look for the Lighting Fixtures category. Expand that out by clicking on the little plus next to it, and then select on the words Pendant Light Linear 1 Lamp. When you do, you can then right-click on that and then go to the Edit button. And this is going to bring up this light fixture in the Family Editor. This light works just like the vast majority of lights inside of Revit. And by examining it and understanding it, you should be able to create your own light fixtures as well as create those light sources and make them display appropriately. The thing that casts light isn't actually the fixture itself. It's this yellow thing that's associated with that fixture. And this is called the light source definition. If we select, after clicking on that, light source definition, we'll be able to see that there's 4 major emitting shapes that Revit is capable of producing. The first one just looks like a little dot. Now imagine if you had a light bulb hanging from a chain from the ceiling. That would be the kind of distribution or shape that you'd expect for this kind of light. The fixture that we currently have, which has one long illuminating tube, that's going to be the kind of shape you would use for that. Just one long glowing tube. The next one over is a rectangular shape. Oftentimes you'll see these inside of office environments. Then this last one, which is technically called the circle, it's just going to be illuminating this in sort of a round glow. It's maybe even a little bit flatter than what this one is. Each of these are both very close and emit similar kinds of light, but this one is a more focused point of light, while this one is maybe spread out a little bit more along the surface. The next one down here is light distribution. If we select right here, we can see that this one shoots its light in all directions. Once again, this might be that light bulb that's just hanging from a chain. It's going to cast its light everywhere as long as there's nothing blocking it. This one, it's going to be casting its light down in a sort of a circular pattern. So imagine if once again you had that light bulb hanging from a chain, but there was some sort of shade over it, forcing it to focus its light down just a little bit. That's what you'd be looking at with this one. The next one over, which is called Spot, maybe this shade is nice and round and points straight down so it looks like a cylinder. This is forcing all the light to be pointed directly at the ground or directly at wherever it is that it's pointing at. That's what you'd use for this. And then finally, we have this light source here, which is the photometric web, and it just sort of casts its light out in all directions, gives you the kind of shape that you're looking at there. For the most part, I have a tendency to use one of these 3. That's the light source definition, and I'm going to click on OK to this. But there's more to this light source than what we just saw there. I don't really want this shape, so I'm just going to click on the undo button to get it back to the way that it was. Now, the other thing that makes up this light source is going to show up here underneath Family Types on the ribbon. If you click on Family Types and then scroll down here on the list, you're going to see photometrics. And we have some categories here underneath photometrics, which also affect the way this light is emitted. There's a light loss factor, and you can specify all this different information that we have in here. This is going to affect whether or not the light casts a certain distance. It's going to affect whether or not the light sort of fades away, whether or not it gets brighter or dimmer. Pretty much anything that could affect the way that the light casts out, is absorbed by different materials. Maybe it has to go through a piece of glass and then that piece of glass is diffusing the light coming through. All that can be created with that light fixture through the light loss factor. I'm going to click on OK to that. There's initial intensity. This is where you can specify certain watts, lumens, the illuminance of it. Now I'm going to click on OK to that. There's initial color. This can affect the color that this is going to look like. So you're going to have your different fluorescents, incandescent bulbs, halogens, and based on which one it is that you select, it's going to affect the ultimate color of your rendering. Now I'm just going to hit cancel to this. I don't want to save that change. And then finally, we have this color filter down here. And this is where you can specify, is it casting a white light, a green light, a yellow light? And it will cast that tinge of color out to all those different surfaces that it hits. So your light fixture families really have all their properties as far as casting light from two different spots. One is from the object itself and the shape that it's going to cast that light out at. And the other way is underneath photometrics, which will control the brightness and the initial color that gets cast by that light.